Hey there everyone, Mike here, coming at you from Badlands Paintball. Today we're actually going to be doing an assembly video. This one is going to be how to install our brand new M249 kit onto your Tippmann A5. So there are going to be a few things that you need to start with. Of course, your Tippmann A5 and the Allen keys that it comes with. You need the Allen key to take out your screws and the larger Allen key to remove your front grip. As well, you're going to need a metric 2.5 style Allen key here as well. So it's metric 2.5, and that will remove the screws on your saw shroud. Okay, so the M249 saw shroud looks amazing. It installs pretty easy. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a bird's eye view here on how to install it. So let's dive right in. Alright guys, so the first piece on this kit that we are going to install is the actual all-metal M249 shroud itself. The thing is very cool, but definitely a little bit complicated to attach. So we will do that item first. I'll go over it slowly with you. Before getting to that though, we actually have to prep your A5 to make it ready for the shroud itself. We're going to have to remove both the front and the rear sight and the front grip here. So to gain access to your front grip, you want to get your second largest Allen key in your A5 bag, and there is one Allen key right straight up through the grip that you have to loosen off. So loosen off that Allen key, just like so. Now you want to get your Allen key for your screws on your A5, and you want to take out the bottom front screw. Now by taking out this bottom front screw, we're going to be able to remove the grip frame or the front grip altogether. Just like so. You can set that to the side. Reinstall the screw though. I'm going to do the same thing with the top front screw in the front of your A5 by removing this. That'll allow me to pull out the front sight. But once I've pulled out the front sight, I'm going to reinstall the screw again, okay? So you want to have all your screws in your A5, keeping everything, all of your internals secure and rocking and rolling in there, okay? So reinstall that front screw. And now at the back here, I can actually just twist and pop out my rear sight. If you can't twist and pop it, I always just loosen off that rear screw at the back. So you can twist and pop out that rear sight, making it look hard. There we go. Just like that. So that rear sight comes out, and now I can tighten up that rear screw again. Okay, so our A5 is ready, rocking and rolling for this M249 shroud. So I'm actually going to set that to the side completely. Alright guys, so now that our A5 is stripped, we're going to be ready to install our M249 shroud. Now to install it, we are going to want to split it into two different pieces. So we are going to have to remove a number of screws. To be exact, we'll have to remove 3 screws on the right side. That would be the 2 right here, which will go over our QEPH, and 1 right here, just behind the right rail shroud, or just behind the right Picatinny rail. On the left-hand side, you have 4 to screw out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So let's get started with those right now. I'll remove the 2 over top of the QEPH first. There's 1. Now all these screws are the same size, so it makes it very easy to keep track of. And again, I am using my 2.5 metric Allen key here, okay? So I've unscrewed all those. Now I can completely separate those two pieces. So again, we're going to start with the top section. I'm going to remove the rear push pin, top one, on my A5. Set that down. And now I can actually just install my shroud right over top of the A5 body itself. Now it should sit nice and flush up against the front of your gun. Just like so. So there shouldn't be any sort of space between the shroud and where your barrel actually screws in. Now I'll take my push pin, and you should have a complete line of sight hole through the rear of your marker there to install the push pin. If you need a little bit of a bigger Allen key to push it all the way through, so be it. So there we go. That's going to be the top of my M249 shroud installed. Should be very close to flush on the front there and push pin in the back. As we install the bottom section, it will completely flush everything up. So when it comes to the bottom section now, it'll really just slide right into place. So, in terms of the screws on the QEPH, the bottom half of your shroud should be on top, okay? And same thing on this side. The bottom half of the shroud, which is this long bar here, should be on top of the front shroud. On the top, so on both sides, the top portion of your shroud is underneath the bottom portion of your shroud, okay? Alright guys, so once you think you have all the holes at least close to lined up, you can start installing your screws. Now the best way that I found to really line everything up properly was to give a good squeeze from the top and the bottom, and it cinches everything together. So the first screw that I'm going to install is the one right behind the rail cover, right behind the Picatinny rail I should say, on the right hand side. Because that seems to be the one that shifts around the most. So I install that one first. I'm going to install one of the screws on my QEPH, over top of my QEPH. That way I know my right side is completely solid. It's sitting nice and flush. The left side of the shroud, generally speaking, is easier to manipulate. It's easier to flex things into the proper position. So that's what we're going to want to do here. So just going to install this rear screw on the QEPH, making sure all my holes line up properly. And screw that right down. Perfect. So now we've got our front screw in on the right side and the rear screw in on the right side. Let's flip over to the left here. So I'm going to give everything another good squeeze. Perfect. So actually our holes here on this side are almost perfectly lined up, which is really good. Give another squeeze in the front here. So I'm going to start with the front screw on the left hand side. So I actually normally just, again, give it a squeeze until it's in the right space. If you're finding that your screws are going in at any sort of angle or anything like that, back everything off, give your whole kit a good squeeze to try to tighten up those screw holes and make sure it goes in nice and straight. As you start to install some in the correct position, it'll make it easier. So there we go. I've got my front one in the correct position now. Now I'm going to give a little squeeze one step further back and install that screw too. I mean, it's great actually. The shroud sitting so flush does make it a little bit more difficult to install the first time, but at least that means that this shroud sits absolutely snug to this marker. There's no wobble, no movement, which makes everything really great in that regard. So if you're putting on a lot of attachments, let's say, nothing's going to shift around. So I'm actually going to give it another quick tighten here. So I'm actually struggling with this front middle one a little bit here, just squeezing it to get it tight enough to line up straight. So a good rule of thumb would be just to shift back, so it makes it easier, the middle ones easier. So I'll shift all the way to the rear screw here, and I'm going to install that, because that will make the middle ones easier to get at. So tighten that rear one down. Perfect. And now that actually really lines up my two middle ones that much more. So now I can install those two. Very little screws. There we go, tighten that down all the way. Now you don't have to go crazy tightening these screws, you don't want to over tighten them. Just like so. And now the final one that I tried to get out the first time, but now because I've shifted to the back and worked my way back, it's much easier to get at. Twist that down. Oh man, this thing is looking cool. Good, so that's in position. So now I have one more screw on this right side, the front QEPH screw, and we'll twist that down now too. Perfect, so now my shroud is on there. The thing is solid, it's not going anywhere at all. Feels absolutely amazing. So now I've still got a whole bunch of really cool parts to install. The next one I will attach will be our rear stock. Alright guys, so when it comes to installing the saw stock, it's actually pretty straightforward, which is great. But there are a few things that you'll need. You want to take a look in your kit, in the saw shroud kit, and there should be a few pieces in there. For one, you should have a long screw, a bolt, and 2 washers, okay? So before we just shove the stock in here, we are going to have to take out the back plate that is currently in there. So you're going to pop out both your push pins, the top one there that we use to keep our shroud on while we were installing the rest of the screws, and of course the bottom one. So I'll pop those push pins out right now. That's the bottom there. Get my screwdriver to push them through. And the second one on top. Now, your back plate should come out nice and easy, okay? So remove that back plate altogether. You're going to want to make sure that you have some tension on that back plate as you take out the push pins, because you do have your spring and rammer pin in the back here, okay? And those have the possibility of flying out. So, alright guys, you're going to take that spring and pin. I usually just put it, actually the pin, into the back half of my stock here. Now we can slide everything into place. You want to make sure that the spring goes into the hole in the back of the rammer. And just push it right through, just like so. Now you're going to take your bottom push pin, and you can reinstall that. So now that you have your bottom push pin in, you're going to want to take your screw and your washer there, and thread those through one side of the gun. So I guys put the washer in first, then slide the screw through. And you want to put the other washer in first on the other side, and then put your bolt in place. Try to hold that bolt in place while you get your Allen key from the other side here and thread it through. So we'll tighten that up. Perfect. So now your stock is on there. Next piece that we're going to want to install is going to be our front mag, let's say. This magazine is very cool in that it just attaches via weaver rails, okay? So to attach this magazine, all you have to do is twist off these 2 knobs here. That will open up the clamp enough that we can then shift it on over top of our bottom weaver rail just in front of the grip. We'll tighten that down. 1, 2. Make sure those are nice and tight. Those are the 2 screws you can see right there and right there. Make sure those are nice and tight. You don't want this piece to have any sort of wobble to it at all. Next, we'll install the bipod. That will simply just twist off and clamp onto place wherever you see fit. Now we can thread in our barrel into the front here. 20-inch tactical barrel, absolutely awesome. Thread that in all the way. We've got our carry handle here, which same thing, weaver style, clamps right on. Put that on the top rail. And then last but not least, we do have our ACOG sight as well. That ACOG sight will just open up and clamp on over top of our top rail. Perfect. I mean, there you have it, guys. Complete M249. Alright everybody, so that is a complete installation of your M249 SAW body shroud. So your A5 should be looking very, very cool at this point now. Feels awesome. So just to reiterate, when you're installing everything, remove all the pieces from your A5 first. I'm making it ready for the SAW shroud. I would, in hindsight, install the SAW stock first. Makes it a little bit easier. Then you're going to want to take apart your two body halves just by removing 1, 2, 3 screws on the right side, 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on the left side. Attach your top half first, then install the bottom half. Cinch everything together, tapping in each one of those screws. Then I went ahead and installed everything else. You've got your mag kit, your bipod, your carry handle there, of course your ACOG sight, and your really nice long 20-inch tactical barrel, okay? So that sums everything up, guys. If you do need extra help with anything, please come into any of our 9 locations across Canada. We've got tons of employees there willing to help you out. If you have any questions or concerns about these as well, please contact us on Facebook or Twitter. Make sure you follow us on there. Lots of cool promotions going on. And guys, if you want to see more videos like this one, please follow us on YouTube and comment below. We absolutely love to hear from you, okay? So I hope this helped you all out there. That's how to install the M249 SAW kit to your Tippmann A5. Marker's looking sweet. Now go out there and use it.